You are listening to Did You Hear?
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 The Johnson County Library Podcast.
We are coming to you
From the Central Resource Library
in Overland Park, Kansas.
This is your Library Insider.
In this episode of Did You Hear, host Dave Carson welcomes information specialist Rachel Novotny and Reader's Advisory Librarian Gregg Winsor for a deep dive into Korean pop, or K-pop. Ever wondered about its history? Have questions about the artists? Curious about how and why this genre has become so popular? Get ready, we're going inside K-pop.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Did You Hear? I'm your host, Dave Carson, and I have to confess something. I am a lifelong learner, and I love learning about all kinds of topics, and one topic that we're going to talk about today is K-pop, and I have to be honest with you, I really don't know anything about K-pop. So much so that before I went to bed, I scrambled. I read a Rolling Stones article about K-pop. I read some Wikipedia. I really tried to figure out just what the heck is K-pop. I have a teenage daughter. I remember her first concert was at J-pop. And so there's J-pop.
Sure.
And there's K-pop.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're going to unfold these mysteries of the universe today.
We're going to go through all the alphabet, man. We're going to talk about, but we're going to start with the K-pop, I think.
So you're hearing voices. Let's start with introductions. So I have with me Gregg Winsor. Hi, Gregg.
Hi, Dave. How's it going?
Remind people what you do at the library.
I am a reference librarian specializing in reader's advisory. I connect people with good books and good things to read and to listen to.
Excellent. And we have a K-pop expert with us.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm at our Blue Valley location as an information specialist.
Do you enjoy it there?
I do.
What's your favorite part of the job?
Oh, you never know what's going to happen. So you have somebody that's on vacation, or going on vacation, and they want to find something to read, or you have kids that are checking out a bunch of stuff and they have questions. So you just never know. It's always fun.
Good enough. Yeah. Well, let's jump into this K-pop discussion because, so my guess was that during the Korean War, that popular music like rock and roll started to, get into the culture of Korea. But from what I read, Korean pop really didn't hit until 1992, and then you had some kind of one-hit wonders like Gangnam Style in 2012, but it wasn't really until a little bit after that, like bands like BTS started selling out just major auditoriums in New York and LA, and even though these bands, and there are several of them, right?
Oh, there's a lot.
Even though they're not necessarily played on traditional radio stations in the United States, boy, streaming and the internet has really connected the world.
Yes.
And so at this point, I throw it to you.
Yeah.
Tell us about K-pop.
So K-pop is Korean pop, and it really kind of came to be in the 90s. Korea experienced like an economic crash. And one of the things to rise out of the ashes from that was this industry of Korean music. And you have all sorts of people that want to make it big. They are considered idols. And before that, they go to companies and they're trainees. And they practice for years to try to be in groups. And these groups get debuted. And they can be small groups. Some of them are really large. And these groups just promote themselves really well. And like you said, I think YouTube is probably one of the biggest pushes for like how we've discovered or shared these things. Because
yeah, which is interesting because I heard, I read that one of the biggest problems that K-pop encountered, and J-pop as well, is censorship. And that they just were not, well, I guess, because most of the artists are not recording in English,
right?
That caused a cold shoulder to be turned upon them.
Yeah.
And so that's quite something to overcome. But they've overcome it.
They have overcome it. And some of them will have lyrics a little bit here and there in English, so that also kind of bridges some international areas. Even in their own country, they're pretty strict on what they can show. Like if you're walking on a road, they won't air that because that's dangerous. So it's interesting how things go, but like YouTube's really opened it up. Like when I was growing up, you had a certain like MTV, like you saw what you saw, and that was that.
Right.
Now you can just kind of pick and choose whatever you want to view.
Right.
So that really opens things up, and a lot of these groups will film a lot of different things. So like them just interacting before a show, or like their dance practices, so you really connect with them and kind of get to know their personalities, or as much as they show.
So the internet's really brought fans kind of behind the scenes, not necessarily what the music, itself represents, but like interviews and kind of fun moments on the road. Now, as a newcomer, I might even know less than Dave about K-pop. Now, let's just take even a step back. I'm assuming that when we say like K-pop, this is more kind of, I'm thinking in my mind kind of boy band and girl band, mostly vocals, lots of dance, lots of high energy style pop music. Is that correct?
That's correct. There are a few bands that are out there as far as like people playing instruments that are coming out, which is really nice, but most of them are going to be like dance groups. So that's why the visuals are so important. So, like, you can come into our libraries and use our computers. You don't even have to have a card. You can get a guest pass, but headphones are important. You need those. You need those to listen, and we do sell those if you don't have some. But the visuals are so important because these groups produce so much music every year. They're always working. Sometimes they have 2 or 3 comebacks a year. Usually they're mini albums. But they have concepts that they work on. Sometimes they're darker concepts, cute concepts.
I find it interesting that American radio probably wouldn't broadcast the entire experience of K-pop if it's just music by itself.
Right. Yeah. It's limited if you just listen to it. So viewing is interesting. Is very good.
So similarly, when my daughter got into J-pop as like a 12-year-old. I remember her first concert was Pamu Pamu, and so I saw a video of Pamu Pamu, and the level of creativity blew me away. It was like Pee-wee's Playhouse, if I'm not dating myself too much. Pee-wee's Playhouse on acid with this little Japanese singer with her pigtails and dressed very impish, but with just crazy visuals behind you. That back in the 1960s,
Sure.
And so I wonder if the same can be said about K-pop videos. Is it more like traditional American, say, boy bands like NSYNC,
like One Direction,
where there's a lot of synchronized dancing, but it's just them? Or are there a lot of creative, visual, artistic things going on? Or is it a combination of all?
It's a combination of both, I would say. Dancing is very important, and being in sync is important also. But they do really put in a lot of effort into what the music video is going to look like. Oftentimes they'll change their hair colors, different makeup, outfits, outfit changes throughout the music video.
Oh my gosh.
It's a whole production.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy.
So just for example, to say if I am a mid-40s person or person in my 40s who's never really been exposed to K-pop, what should I start with? What's my gateway? What's the one thing that I if I at least know this one band or this one song or this one thing, I would kind of get the essence of the art form? I
feel like you could kind of go anywhere, but BTS is really huge right now.
Are they the most popular
They
band?
are probably the most popular.
Now, does BTS stand for anything, or is it just BTS, or is it?
It stands for a couple things.
Okay.
Bangtan Soyeondan is their Korean name, which is Bulletproof Boy Scouts. Cool. And then in the U.S. they go by Behind the Scenes.
Okay.
So, sorry about the pronunciation on that.
That's great.
But they've been a group since 2013, and there are 7 members. And they have all sorts of different concepts that happen sometimes, and lots of mini albums. But probably what they're most well known for is kind of promoting loving yourself and kind of doing what you want to, not falling onto what previous generations expect you to do. So I feel like a lot of people connect with that.
So it's very positive, very empowering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have their latest album, which is Map of the Soul Persona, which we have in our collection. You can place holds on it if you want. They have like a variety of different songs. So a lot of groups will have rappers in them and then singers as well. So most K-pop songs are going to have vocals, some rap, broken up into all of the songs that they do. So like the first song that they have is Intro Persona, which is done by RM, and it's just an entire rap song. So there's like a little bit for everybody. I really like from their latest album, Make It Right, and a lot of people worked on it, but Ed Sheeran is also a name on that. So you can definitely hear elements if you're familiar with Ed Sheeran. That might be a good song to listen to.
Is that something that's kind of happening more and more, of having like crossover people from other kind of, established, international artists like an Ed Sheeran come over, cross over, and do some work with some K-pop artists?
It is. It's getting more popular. Like Steve Aoki, I don't know if you guys are familiar. He's done some things with BTS. He also is starting to work with Monsta X, who is another group. We also have one of their albums called We Are Here that came out this year in our collection, so you might check that out too.
Yeah.
But and there's a song on that called Play It Cool, and he worked on producing that. So there's a lot of people that are kind of collaborating.
Let's get the full list, shall we? What are your recommendations if we want to take a deep dive into K-pop, not just one artist but several?
Yeah. So I really like BTS. Monsta X is good as well. We don't have them in our collection, but GOT7 is a good group. They do a lot vocally. They're very good dancers. We do have EXO as well. That's spelled EXO. We have a couple albums in our collection, Coco Bop The War and Don't Mess Up My Tempo. And they are also a really big group.
Are all of these boy bands?
They are.
Okay.
Those are boy bands, yes. We also have some girl groups. Blackpink.
Do they ever mix it up? Boys and girls?
There's a few groups.
Like ABBA style, the Korean ABBA?
I would say, yes. There's a group called KARD. That's KARD. And there are 2 gentlemen and 2 ladies in that group. So
okay. I totally interrupted your list, so please continue.
Yeah. Some of the girl groups that we have in our collection are Blackpink, and they're really big right now, too. You may have heard.
Yeah, that's one of the few ones I'm familiar with. I've heard about it on social media.
Yes. They have some well-viewed videos on YouTube. Okay.
Now, are they a little bit more, do they have a reputation of being more edgy or more darker, perhaps?
They do. They do. Their latest single is called Kill This Love. So they're just kind of like, we're doing our own thing, and the song is a little intense, and some of the visuals, I think at one point they're in like a giant trap. So
James Bond style, kind of? Okay, yeah.
It's something else. But yeah, they're a group of 4 women who, one of them grew up in Korea. I think one of them is from Australia, one's from New Zealand, and one is from Thailand. Yeah. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, boy, I had a question that just left my mind.
That's okay. Let me jump in real quick. Is there, if you kind of jump into the K-pop, kind of milieu and the atmosphere, what's the trend going toward? What's the genre? Is it just going to get bigger and more wide, or is it becoming perhaps more kind of, I don't want to say Americanized, with kind of these other artists kind of crossing over into the sound? What's the future of K-pop?
That is so funny, because now I remember what my question is.
Yeah.
I read that some of the artists tried to record in English, and it was a massive failure. That it just didn't work. And so maybe kind of tying into your question is like, I wonder how many artists are going to try that. I wonder what the future is. How do they grow it to a non-English, to an English audience?
Yeah, I think a lot of artists are probably going to stay rooted in their Korean lyrics, but continue to do that, like English phrases here or there, or Spanish phrases, or whatever they are interested in kind of working into their songs. A few groups have done English lyrics. And it's usually in collaboration with someone. They usually don't just have it themselves. So, and I feel like a lot of them don't feel as comfortable doing that. So I feel like they'll continue kind of on the trajectory they're going with their roots in Korean language. And I feel like they tend to pick up whatever is going on universally. So, like, lately a lot of things have had EDM in them. So
explain, what is EDM?
Electronic dance music. So just heavy beats and things put in their songs. So yeah, they're incorporating that a lot, and they'll probably move on to whatever else hits.
Whatever the
big.
trend is next. Now, if you're a K-pop listener in America, how are you accessing the music? Is it from YouTube? Is it from Spotify? Where do you go to get the deeper catalog?
Yeah, so mostly YouTube, because you want to
get that visual component.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But a lot of artists are on Spotify. Some of them release like just little projects that they do that aren't going to be on albums on SoundCloud. So there's a couple places to kind of check out. And then usually if they're little projects, sometimes they will be turned into like a lyric video on YouTube where you just see like their picture and what the lyrics are.
I wonder what their concerts are like, and I wonder if they end up filming those, and that if those are as popular as, you know, these other videos that they've created.
Yeah, so they do film concerts, and you'll see like clips on YouTube. Sometimes they'll like package that and sell it. I've been to a few concerts. They're massive, and one of the important things is like light sticks. They have like a light stick designed for each group, and people have those, and then they're just using them, and they're lit up, and it's really cool when they're singing. Also on packaging, they like think of everything. So if you buy a CD, they're going to have like a box, and there's going to be cards of the members, and there's going to be all sorts of things in there.
Oh my.
They really are.
So really the
promoting
music
this.
is part of this larger overall experience.
It is.
That you go to a concert, you're a part of the show, you unbox, you have cards with these people on them. It really is kind of, it's not just, you know, put on your headphones, listen to music while you're jogging or in the car. You're actually in the culture.
Right,
whenever
you're incorporated.
Listening.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's just really packaging yourself, marketing yourself, making your band seem like it's larger than life, and that is fascinating. You know, you think of people over history that have done that and their popularity has grown just amazingly. Starting off for me, it's like when I heard, you know, Muhammad Ali and all of his self-boasting, and I think, you know, yeah, sure, really great boxer, but there's so much more to the packaging of his image, say. And to think that you know, a rock band, a boy band, girl band, all the little things that they do, the trading cards, you know, just all the things that they package along with the music, that's fascinating.
Rachel, I have one last question for you. How did you first encounter this? What got you? What was the first thing that, did someone like grab you and say, "Oh, this is awesome. You have to listen to this"? Did you stumble on it by accident? How did you do it?
Yeah, so I actually went kind of an opposite route. I was on Netflix and I clicked on a Korean drama, and then I watched the whole thing. And then, like, a couple months later, I talked to my friend Jess, and then she was like, "Ooh, I want to watch that." And then she was like, "Oh, listen to this soundtrack. Who are these artists?" And so she started listening to the music, and she was like, "You have to listen to these people." So we kind of just influenced each other in that way, and then it was just a rabbit hole, like 5 years ago, and here I am.
5 years ago. Do you enjoy other music, or has this really been taking up your attention?
It's been taking up a lot of my attention. Usually, like, what I listened to before was pretty, like, I would say sad Irishmen, like Damien Rice and Glenn Hansard, who maybe is a little more angry. I don't know. But so it's kind of different than what I was used to, like more alternative indie stuff, into like like a pop of color, a lot of stuff going on. But
Interesting.
I don't know. It was, but it feels like a big family sort of. So.
Okay, so Rachel, I want to make sure that we've exhausted your list, because you did put together a list for us. Have we covered all the artists that you wanted to share with our audience today?
There's a few more things that we have in our system.
Okay, let's jump to them.
Yeah. So we have a group called Girls' Generation. They're more of a veteran group. They're girls. And we have a CD that came out in 2012 called The Boys. So we have that if you're interested. We have a girl group called Red Velvet. We have 2 of their albums. RBB, which is Really Bad Boy, and Summer Magic, and those came out last year. And then kind of an up-and-coming girl group called Twice, and they just came out with their album Fancy You, with their main song Fancy. And then a couple more boy groups that we have, NCT 127, which is a subunit of NCT. There's a lot of people in that group. There's always subunits. They have a new album called We Are Superhuman. And then we have 17, which is not 17 members, but 13, a lot of people, with an album called You Made My Dawn. So there's a lot of options, I would say, for our system. And I think we're growing, and some of those are on order. So we may be getting some in the future, but those can be placed on hold. Some of the artists that I've talked about that we don't have in our collection, you can, if you live in the county, use our interlibrary loan system. You can check that out or ask a librarian to help you place holds, and we would be happy to do that.
That is a great suggestion. And in the coming weeks, look for an episode where we go in depth with the interlibrary loan crew. That's going to be a really fun episode. I'm sure they have a lot of really great stories of how things get to the library from all over the country. And I'm sure there's probably some unique items that have been delivered. Anyways, I want to thank you so much. I always find it so interesting to learn about a new genre of music. I'm a huge music lover, but K-pop, what is known as Korean pop, K-pop, J-pop, these are new things to me. But, you know, the world's getting smaller, right? We've got the internet. Yeah. We just got the internet.
It just came in. It's crazy. You're going to love it.
There's all this stuff coming out. But, you know, if you're a lifelong learner like myself, like so many of the folks here at the library, stretch yourself. Try out some new genres, you know.
And as Rachel mentioned, these songs, these new groups provide that pop of color that maybe you haven't been, that you need in your life.
We'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did we miss a question you wish we would have asked? Do you have thoughts or stories about today's topic? Share them with us on Facebook, facebook.com/Joko Library.
And now, our writer's quote of the day.
Hello, my name is Dylan Ryder. I'm an information specialist at the Antioch-Johnson County Library. My favorite quote is from Wolfgang von Goethe. None are so hopelessly enslaved as those who falsely believe they are free.
We leave you with sounds from one of our locations. Today, we present a recording of our book return conveyor at the Central Resource Library. It's your audio minute we call Library Zen.
For more episodes of Did You Hear, go to the Johnson County Library website, jocolibrary.org/didyouhear.